From the UNTV News and Rescue Command Center in Quezon City, this is Y News.
Good evening. Malacañang ensures greater ties between the Philippines and Kuwait after the meeting of President Rodrigo Duterte with Kuwaiti Ambassador to the Philippines, Saleh Ahmad Al-Kuwait. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
By way of President Rodrigo Duterte's treatment with Kuwaiti Ambassador to the Philippines, Saleh Ahmad Al-Kuwait, Malacañang is sure that the misunderstandings brought about by the viral video of rescue missions of overseas Philippine workers by the Philippine Embassy personnel in Kuwait last week have all been ironed out. Presidential spokesperson Secretary Harry Roque is also sure that the tension will not result in the pullout of Kuwaiti ambassador in the Philippines as well as Philippine embassy officials in Kuwait. The agreement between the Philippines and Kuwait will still be signed to protect the rights of the OFWs.
I think his style worked, and whatever ill feelings may have resulted because of the leak of the video, naisa man ng presidente.
The official also believes that an apology from the chief executive is not necessary because the latest incident involving the Philippine embassy officials was not a big deal.
I don't think that was necessary at all. Yung conduct niya kasi can inspire friendship and confidence, especially when you're up close.
Aside from this, the Kuwaiti government also expressed their agreement that the Philippine government needs to protect its citizens, and the Philippines ensure its respect to the sovereignty of Kuwait.
Naging resolution po, tanggapin po ng Kuwait government na talagang pangangalagaan natin ang ating mga mamamayan sa Kuwait dahil ito'y obligasyon natin bilang isang bansa, at tinatanggap din natin ang soberenya ng Kuwait na dapat ang magpatupad ng batas ng Kuwait ay mga taga-Kuwait.
In the end, the two leaders parted ways with better relationship built for the Philippines and Kuwait. Last week, Kuwait Ministry of Foreign Affairs summoned the Philippine ambassador to Kuwait, Renato Villa, due to his alleged controversial statements against the government, and Philippine embassy personnel's arrest after convincing OFWs to escape from their employers created quite a ruckus. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacañang.
Department of Foreign Affairs Secretary Alan Peter Cayetano apologizes to the Kuwaiti government for the conduct of an OFW rescue mission in Kuwait. But the secretary stood firm in the government's action, saying this was amid the dangers posed to the lives of distressed OFWs. Aiko Miguel tells us why.
Foreign Affairs Secretary Alan Peter Cayetano admits there was a failure to inform the Kuwaiti government in the conduct of rescue mission of the Philippine Embassy for some overseas Filipino workers. This step left a stain in the Philippines-Kuwait relations. Kuwait Foreign Ministry had repeatedly summoned Philippines Ambassador to Kuwait, Renato Villa, to explain the incident. Under the law, authorities have to coordinate first with Kuwait before executing a rescue mission. This oversight prompted Cayetano to issue an apology to Kuwait.
I apologize to my counterpart, and we apologize to the Kuwaiti government, Kuwaiti people, and the leaders of Kuwait if they were offended by some actions taken by the Philippine Embassy.
But according to the Secretary, the operation was done because of the threat in the lives of the saved workers.
There are certain exceptions when there's life or death threat to our nationals. When we receive a call and sasabihin, papatayin na ako or I'm in danger, diba? So, action has to be swift.
For Muntinlupa Representative Rufy Biazon, embassy officials who are responsible for the operation need to be recalled. Biazon argues that this may cause a misunderstanding between the Philippines and Kuwait. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Department of Agriculture sets to destroy smuggled onions intercepted at the port of Manila. Meanwhile, an incident of bribery attempt was encountered by a DA official related to the illegal shipment. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
DA officials waited for almost 4 hours at the Manila International Container Port yesterday before they successfully opened the container vans with smuggled onions. Agriculture Secretary Manny Piñol said there were attempts to hamper their operation to open the shipments, but Commissioner Isidro La Peña made sure that they have all the legal means before doing so.
Kesyo nandun sa malayo yung truck, kesyo wala yung driver, kesyo wala yung broker na mag-witness.
As early as Friday last week, DA Undersecretary Ariel Cayanan even received a call negotiating for the release of the contraband and offered him up to 2 million pesos per container of the item. BOC identified 17 container vans with smuggled onions with an estimated amount of 2 million pesos per container.
Sabi kasi unang pabuksan sabi ko hindi po pwede, strip lahat yan. Yung uli, pwede nang pabuksan, huwag lang a-attend ikaw at saka si Secretary Payton.
Piñol said smugglers declared the onions as apples because there is no imposed tax for apples, whereas the government imposes 35% tariff for onions. DA now advised BOC to put all imported agricultural products to alert status to avoid smuggling. The intercepted onions will be destroyed. DA said the country imports 51% of its onion supply, but no permit was issued this time as it is the harvest season for onions. BOC will file cases against the consignee of the smuggled onions. Ray Pilayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Office of the Ombudsman finds grounds to file violation of the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act charges against former Department of Agriculture or DA Secretary Proceso Alcala. Other former DA officials and 20 garlic traders. This is relative to the alleged anomaly in the issuance of garlic import permits, which resulted in the rise in the price of garlic in the market. Based on an investigation conducted by the Ombudsman, over 8,800 garlic import permits were issued by the DA and the Bureau of Plant Industry from 2010 to 2014, where more than 5,000 of which were issued to the Vendors Association of the Philippines, led by one of the respondents, Lilia Cruz. In 2013, Alcala designated Cruz as the chairperson of the National Garlic Action Team, which served as a consultative body of the DA, and Cruz also served as a representative of garlic traders and helped in the processing of import permits. Because of these, Cruz was able to control a large percentage of garlic import permits, which caused a rise in the price of garlic. It is expected that residents in a community in Tondo, Manila will generate more income by making paper made from garlic skin. Nel Maribuhok will tell us why.
The main source of livelihood for some of the residents of Barangay 649 peeling garlic off its skin. A Chinese businessman delivers sacks of garlics in the barangay. They are paid 70 to 75 pesos per sack of peeled garlics. What the residents did not expect is that they can still earn from the discarded garlic skin, which turns out can still produce paper. Earlier, the residents were provided with the equipment to be used in paper production as well as the training they need.
Hopefully, dapat mas marami ang ma-recycle para wala silang basurang itatapon sa Manila Bay kasi as we see it, hindi makaya talaga ng hauler ng City of Manila yung lahat ng basura nila.
Una-una po, matutulungan din yung mga tao at saka yung sa basura po, malaking tulong po sa amin.
The said paper can be used as raw material to produce other products like paper bags or gift wrappers. Senator Villar says there is a big potential that this may compete in the export industry. It is also expected that tons of garbage or waste accumulated in the barangay and in Manila Bay every year will be reduced. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
A former CHR chairperson expresses concern over the imminent removal of the Philippines in the UN Human Rights Council. Grace Casin will tell us why.
Former Commission on Human Rights chairperson Eta Rosales feels alarmed over the recent resolution of the European Parliament. The resolution calls on the EU and its member states to consider the removal of the Republic of the Philippines from the United Nations Human Rights Council before its current membership term expires at the end of 2018. If this will happen, Rosales says the international community will call us as violators of human rights. This, she says, will also have an effect to the country, especially to the 10 million overseas Filipino workers.
That's an international slap on the face of the Philippines. Before the international community, para tayong sinampal at nilagay tayo sa isang lugar. In-isolate tayo. You know, merong mga rogue states na tinatawag. Magkakaroon ng stigma sa mga Filipinos
Rosales says the resolution of the EU started when the president deported Party European Socialist Deputy Director General Giacomo Filibec. But the Malacañang is confident that the Philippines will not be removed from the UN Human Rights Council because the alleged extrajudicial killings in connection with the war on drugs of the administration are not state-sanctioned. Presidential spokesperson Secretary Harry Roque says the EU has the right to review the status of the Philippines.
Of course, it's always their prerogative to review it. But the Philippine government's position on extralegal killing, I think, has been made clear over and over again by the President himself.
Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Supreme Court ruled that Ombudsman Conchita Carpio Morales is entitled to a full 7-year term. Voting unanimously, the court dismissed the consolidated petitions challenging Morales' stay in the position. Citing Article 11, Section 11 of the 1987 Constitution and the Republic Act Number 6770 or the Ombudsman Act, the court stated that the Ombudsman is appointed to a full term of 7 years without reappointment, and not simply the unexpired portion of the predecessor. The petitioners are claiming that Morales, who was appointed in 2011 following the resignation of Ombudsman Merceditas Gutierrez, should only serve until 2015 or the remaining years of Gutierrez's term. Health Secretary Francisco Duque III faces obstruction of justice complaint at the Department of Justice in line with Dengvaxia controversy. This time, the complainants were the parents of a vaccinee whose death is being linked to Dengvaxia. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
Health Secretary Francisco Duque III faces another complaint at the Department of Justice. Just today, the parents of Abby Hedia, parents of a vaccinee whose death is being linked to Dengvaxia, filed obstruction of justice against the DOH chief.
2 buwan namatay ang anak ko, parang masisira ang ulo ko. Hanggang ngayon, ano ang nangyayari sa buhay namin, lalo na sa akin? Hindi ako makapagtrabaho, nakalib ako ngayon. Nag-iisip ako sa pagkawala ng anak ko.
Based on the complaint, Secretary Duque have refused to give the master list of the Dengvaxia vaccinees. He also ordered to investigate the Dengvaxia-related deaths, although there was an evident conflict of interest. The department order for a forensic service also brought confusion to the public. According to Public Attorney's Office Chief Persida Acosta, it is clear that there was a conflict of interest on the ongoing investigation of DOH, as there are DOH officials who also face charges in line with the Dengvaxia controversy. Secretary Duque should also inhibit from the ongoing investigation on the Dengvaxia controversy.
Ang sabi ng mga magulang, sila ang nagturok, sila ang nagbakuna, sila ang bumili. Pagkatapos, bakit sila ang mag-autopsy? Tapos sasabihin later, kinokout ko lang po yung mga magulang, walang kinamalayan o kinalaman sa Dengvaxia.
According to PAO, there are some Dengvaxia vaccinees who did not pursue to ask help from them to conduct autopsy on their children and even kept silent for they have already received assistance from DOH. Meanwhile, Secretary Duque has yet to issue any official statement on the accusations against him. Aside from obstruction of justice, Secretary Duque was also charged with homicide and torture complaints in line with the Dengvaxia controversy. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Oil companies implement today price hike on petroleum products. Petron, Shell, Flying V, and Sea Oil implemented 40 centavos per liter increase on gasoline and a 60 centavos per liter increase on diesel and kerosene. Meanwhile, Jetty, Unioil, Easter Petroleum, Phoenix, and PTT Philippines also implemented price hike on diesel and gasoline, but there is no movement on the price of kerosene. A passenger jeepney fell off a ravine in Antipolo, Rizal at past 7 this morning. The jeepney driver and 1 passenger were injured. Based on an initial investigation of the Philippine National Police, the jeepney's brake system malfunctioned that led to the accident.
Nawalan daw siya ng preno, sabi nung driver. Tinatry niyang ibangga doon sa gilid ng pader. Hindi man po pwede kasi maraming opposite vehicle. Kaya yung pagkabig niya sa kanan, nag-lost control na siya.
The area is said to be accident-prone. The Government Service Insurance System, or GSIS, today announces that it will accept 400 applications from members who want to avail of its scholarship program. Here, GSIS will give 40,000 pesos to the grantees to cover tuition and miscellaneous fees. The scholars will also receive 3,000 pesos monthly allowance. An applicant must be a government employee for over 3 years with a salary grade of 24 and below and has paid monthly contributions for the past 6 months. The application form, list of accredited schools, and the requirements are available on the GSIS website. Next on Y News. The Department of Environment and Natural Resources sets to conduct an inventory and assessment on the tourist destinations and protected areas in Region 8. And President Rodrigo Duterte is set to sign the appointment papers of new COMELEC commissioners. Y News will be right back. I'm Darlene Basingan. Stay tuned for Angelo, Castro III. Good evening.
On Y News tonight, the National Economic and Development Authority believes the BORACAY closure has only a minimal effect on the economy. The latest Pulse Asia survey reports that most Filipinos show little interest in the issues of politics and charter change. Philippine National Police Chief Police Director General Oscar Albayalde once again issues a warning against the members of the police force. Good evening. The National Economic and Development Authority, or NEDA, says the effect of the BORACAY closure to the economy is only minimal. Monokson will tell us why.
The gross domestic product will decrease by only 0.1% if the BORACAY will stop operation for 6 months. In the 14 trillion pesos estimate GDP of the Philippines this year, this will only calculate for 980 million pesos. The National Economic and Development Authority, or NEDA, however, says the closure will greatly affect the municipality and region where BORACAY is situated. But the GDP will recover because 50% of tourists bound for BORACAY will be diverted to other tourist destinations in the Philippines.
Other areas in the Visayas will be gaining some increase in growth rates, and also Luzon and Mindanao will be getting some increase in growth rate.
NEDA points out that BORACAY will recover fast because it will be more attractive to tourists once it reopens. The Department of Tourism must also act to strengthen and promote other tourist spots in the country. The Department of Budget and Management is also preparing funds that other government agencies can use to assist displaced workers in BORACAY.
Through the DOLE, the SWD, etc. May mga program kasi sila talaga na for that purpose.
Jokno says they can release the 2 billion calamity funds for the rehabilitation and assistance to residents before the closure. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
President Rodrigo Duterte sets to declare a state of calamity in BORACAY. Meanwhile, authorities encountered several problems in the first day of the dry run for the BORACAY temporary closure. Darlene Moreno will tell us why.
The Philippine National Police and Philippine Ports Authority personnel take position early today at the Caticlan and Cagbancheri ports for the first day of the dry run for the public entry and exit in BORACAY Island. The Sambira and Manok port will be used for the cargoes. Upon arrival on the Chari port, residents need to show their government-issued ID address in BORACAY, while non-resident workers need workers' terminal pass. There will be separate lanes for the residents and the workers. Verification counters will be put in each lane to thoroughly check those who are entering the island and stamp them. Passengers who do not have stamp on their hand cannot buy a ticket. Some passengers were caught surprised by the dry run. Some workers, on the other hand, came prepared and brought their ID pass. Foreigners also brought their ID from the Bureau of Immigration. So far, there were no big problems encountered by the port authorities except with those entering the island who have no ID because they have not received their passes. They are also looking into the influx of the passengers entering the island. Dry run will continue until tomorrow. Meanwhile, President Rodrigo Duterte is expected to issue a proclamation order before April 26, declaring Boracay under state of calamity. The 2 billion peso calamity fund is already available to those who will be affected by the island closure. Malacañang also assures that the DILG will investigate the reports of those who are taking advantage and asking hefty amount of money in exchange for the island that will be used in Boracay.
I'm sure that the DILG will look into this. Believe you me, Secretary Anyo will not tolerate this if this can be proven.
Lelaine Moreno, UNTV News and Rescue, Boracay Island.
The Senate of the Philippines will not yet conduct a hearing relative to the temporary closure of Boracay Island. Senate Committee on Agriculture Chairman Senator Cynthia Villar says the upper chamber will first let the government conduct its rehabilitation efforts in the island. Senator Villar, however, says they will closely monitor the massive cleanup and rehabilitation works in Boracay Island.
Pag sila'y nagsimula na ng rehab, i-monitor natin ang rehab at pag may nakita tayong hindi tama, then we can do another hearing.
The Department of Environment and Natural Resources will conduct an inventory and assessment on the tourist destinations and protected areas in Region 8. Archil Egano will tell us why.
The Eastern Visayas Regional Development Council Committee on Ecotourism will conduct inspection on tourist sites and destinations in the region. This to find out if there have been violations of environment laws. Attorney Crizal de Barcelo, DNR 8 Regional Director, says that 4 islas in Inupacan and Hindang Leyte top their list.
Yan ang concentration natin sa mga coastal areas natin and yung mga major ecotourism destinations natin. Conduct inventory of portion areas natin, portion occupants, and what renewal instruments they have.
Aside from this, DNR Region 8 will also create 2 teams that will conduct studies on the planned construction of an information center on one of the islands, as well as Department of Social Welfare and Development or DSWD's plan to install core shelters in protected areas. The group is composed of representatives from the Environmental Management Bureau, Mines and Geosciences Bureau, and experts from DNR's Coastal Marine Division and members of the Academe.
General Appropriations Act, Section 26C, sabi there should be no infrastructure which will destroy or ano tong mga key biodiversity areas na to. Dapat yung infra must promote and sustain biodiversity.
Meanwhile, through Presidential Proclamation number 270 series of 2000 signed by former President Joseph Estrada, some 12,500 hectares of land and seascape has been declared as protected landscape and seascape on the islands of Himukilan, Apid, Mahaba, and Digyo. Archiligano, UNTV News and Rescue, Tacloban City.
The latest Pulse Asia survey shows that most Filipinos are not interested in the issues of politics and charter change. Nel Maribuhok will tell us why.
From the 1,200 respondents asked about the issues that need to be taken action by the administration, 50% says the issue on salary hike should be addressed, controlling inflation and creating more jobs. The latest Pulse Asia survey also reports that only a small percent of Filipinos show interest in defending the Philippine territory, fighting terrorism and changing the constitution. For the past year, the sentiments of Filipinos who want to have good life has not changed. Also, a small percentage of Filipinos show concern on the issue of charter change. This means that most Filipinos are more concerned on economic issues than political issues in the country. Malacañang agree with the survey result.
Pareho naman po ng concern niya ng ating presidente, di ba? Mas komportabling buhay din ang gusto nating ibigay sa ating mga kababayan. So nagtutugma po ang kagustuhan ng ating mamamayan dun sa nais makamit ni Presidente Duterte.
The survey was conducted last March 23 to 28, 2018 amid the issues on the filing of quo warranto petition filed by the Solicitor General in the Supreme Court against Chief Justice Mario Lourdes Sereno. The release of recommendation of the Interagency Task Force of Boracay closure for 6 months and the expression of support of President to the joint exploration of Philippines and China in the West Philippine Sea. Nel Maribuho, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasay City.
The Supreme Court has directed the Commission on Elections to comment on the request of City Mayor Gia Gomez to stop the recall elections in San Juan. The COMELEC has 5 days to answer the petition, which sought to nullify 2 resolutions of the poll body directing the conduct of verification of signatures for the recall elections. Gomez is challenging the resolutions for the alleged lack of quorum when the COMELEC deliberated and voted on it. The recall petition was filed by 5 San Juan residents following allegations of cheating that marred the mayoral elections in 2016. Verification of signatures will begin tomorrow. The Supreme Court, sitting as the Presidential Electoral Tribunal, wants the Commission on Elections and former Senator Bongbong Marcos to comment on the shading threshold used in 2016 elections. Vice President Leni Robredo is insisting on the tribunal to use a 25% threshold in the ongoing manual revision. She wants the revisers to count the votes with less than half of the oval shaded. The SC has earlier ruled that the 50% threshold should be used, dismissing Robredo's motion.
The Supreme Court, acting as the Presidential Electoral Tribunal, directed the protestant and the Commission on Elections to comment on the protestee's motion for reconsideration dated April 19, 2018 on the requirement to observe a 50% threshold percentage on the recount within 10 days from notice.
Malacañang announces that President Rodrigo Duterte is set to sign the appointment papers of 2 new Commission on Elections commissioners. COMELEC has appealed to the Chief Executive to complete the roster of the commissioners before May 14. However, presidential spokesman Harry Roque refused to name the new appointees. The president is also expected to declare May 14 as a special non-working holiday.
It's forthcoming. I already know the identities, but our rule is unless the document is formally signed, we can't divulge it.
Philippine National Police Chief Police Director General Oscar Albayalde once again issues a warning against the members of the police force. Monokson will tell us why.
The new Philippine National Police or PNP Calabarzon Regional Director Police Chief Superintendent Guillermo Eleazar formally takes office, replacing Police Chief Superintendent Mau Aplasca, the new PNP Directorate for Operations. Eleazar says he will focus on resolving problems on illegal drugs as part of the internal cleansing implemented within the police force.
I am now reactivating the Regional Special Operation Group to complement our Regional Drug Enforcement Unit in running after drugs and syndicated high-value targets.
PNP Chief Police Director General Oscar Albayalde graced the turnover ceremony as the guest of honor. Part of General Albayalde's speech was on corrupt cops in the organization.
It's high time that we weed out these scalawags in uniform in our ranks. If we want to really change and if we want really to transform the Philippine National Police into a more professional organization.
Meanwhile, the PNP Internal Affairs Service fast-tracks the process in resolving administrative cases charged against police officers in accordance with the new PNP Chief's directive. It can be noted that last year, administrative cases were filed against 3,000 cops. Among the improvements in the PNP ESS processes is the shortened service of notice or the notifications given to a cop who is facing charges.
Dati umaabot ng 2 weeks yan kasi yung it has to pass through registered mail. Ngayon, face-to-face na lang. Patawag mo, ito, binibigay namin sa police station, hanapin nyo, bigay nyo.
The PNP ES adds, under the new system, resolving a cop's case may take only up to 2 months. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Football Club AS Roma trains on Trigoria grounds. Meanwhile, a pilot from Australia edges past reigning Red Bull Air Race World Champion Yoshihide Muroya. Asher Kadapan Jr. will tell us why.
Australian pilot Matt Hall claims victory in the second leg of the Red Bull Air Race World Championship in Cannes, France, edging German Matthias Dolderer in an intense Final Four battle on Sunday. Hall crossed the line with a time of 57.692 seconds to record his first victory since he started racing in the Edge 540 at the start of last season. Dolderer finished just 0.072 seconds behind, while American Michael Gullion took the third spot. Reigning world champion Yoshihide Moroya was the fourth pilot in the Final Four battle, but a 2-second penalty for incorrect level flying at Gate 8 had put an end to the hope of a podium finish. Gullion retained the top spot in the overall standings with 24 points. The pilots will next compete in the third leg in Chiba, Japan on May 26 to 27. Meanwhile, A2S Roma held their final training session at their Trigoria grounds on Monday before heading off for the Champions League semi-final against English Premier League club Liverpool. Roma is in the last four of the Champions League for the first time since 1984, the days of the old European Cup, thanks to their rousing comeback against Barcelona. They hit back from 4-1 down after the first leg to win 3-0 at home and qualify on away goals. They have also become the first Italian club, apart from Juventus, to reach the last four since Inter Milan in 2010. Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue.
Up next on Y News. The Land Transportation Office inaugurates its new plate-making facility. Toronto residents mourn for victims of the van attack. Stay tuned for William Thio. I'm Angelo Castro III. Good evening.
Good evening. Malacañang ensures greater ties between the Philippines and Kuwait after the meeting of President Rodrigo Duterte with Kuwaiti Ambassador to the Philippines Saleh Ahmad Al-Kuwait. By way of President Duterte's treatment with the Kuwaiti Ambassador to the Philippines, Malacañang is sure that the misunderstandings brought about by the viral video of rescue missions of overseas Filipino workers by the Philippine Embassy officials in Kuwait last week have been ironed out. Presidential spokesperson Secretary Harry Roque is also sure that the tension will not result in the pullout of Kuwaiti ambassador in the Philippines as well as Philippine embassy officials in Kuwait.
I think his style worked, and whatever ill feelings may have resulted because of the leak of the video, naisa man ang presidente.
The agreement between the Philippines and Kuwait will still be signed to protect the rights of the OFW. Meanwhile, the Department of Agriculture, or DA, sets to destroy the smuggled onions intercepted at the port of Manila. DA officials waited for almost 4 hours at the Manila International Container Port yesterday before they successfully opened the container vans with the smuggled onions. Agriculture Secretary Manny Piñol said there were attempts to hamper their operations to open the shipments. As early as Friday last week, DA Undersecretary Ariel Cayanan even received a call negotiating for the release of the contraband and offered him up to 2 million pesos per container of the item.
Sabi kasi unang pabuksan sabi ko hindi po pwede, strip lahat yan. Yung uli, pwede nang pabuksan, huwag lang a-attend ikaw at saka si Secretary Pingleton.
Former Commission on Human Rights Chairperson Eta Rosales feels alarmed over the recent resolution of the European Parliament. The resolution calls on the EU and its member states to consider the removal of the Republic of the Philippines from the United Nations Human Rights Council before its current membership term expires at the end of 2018. If this will happen, Rosales says the international community will call us as violators of human rights. This, she says, will also have an effect to the country, especially to the 10 million overseas Filipino workers.
That's an international slap on the face of the Philippines. Before the international community, para tayong sinampal at nilagay tayo sa isang lugar. In-isolate tayo. You know, merong mga rogue states na tinatawag. Magkakaroon ng stigma sa mga Filipinos.
The National Economic and Development Authority, or NEDA, says the effect of the Boracay closure to the economy is only minimal. The gross domestic product will decrease by only 1.1% if the Boracay will stop operations for 6 months. In the 14 trillion pesos estimate GDP of the Philippines this year, this will only calculate to 980 million pesos. The National Economic and Development Authority, or NEDA, however, says the closure will greatly affect the municipality and region where Boracay is situated.
Other areas in the Visayas will be gaining some increase in growth rates. And also Luzon and Mindanao will be getting some increase in growth rate.
NEDA points out that Boracay will recover fast because it will be more attractive to tourists once it is reopened. In the latest Pulse Asia survey shows that most Filipinos are not interested in the issues of politics and charter change. From the 1,200 respondents asked about the issues that need to be taken action by the administration, 50% says the issue on salary hike should be addressed, controlling inflation and creating more jobs. The latest Pulse Asia survey also reports that only a small percent of Filipinos show interest in defending the Philippine territory, fighting terrorism, and changing the constitution. The new Philippine National Police, or PNP Calabarzon Regional Director, Police Chief Superintendent Guillermo Eliazar, formally takes office, replacing Police Superintendent Esplaca Directorate for Operations. Eliazar says he will focus on resolving problems and illegal cleansing implemented within the police force.
I am now reactivating the Regional Special Operation Group to complement our Regional Drug Enforcement Unit in running after drugs and syndicated high-value targets.
PNP Chief Police Director General Oscar Albayalde graced the turnover ceremony as the guest of honor. Part of General Albayalde's speech was on corrupt cops in the organization.
It's high time that we weed out these scalawags in uniform in our ranks. If we want to really change, and if we want really to transform the Philippine National Police into a more professional organization.
In other news, new vehicle owners may expect their vehicle plates available to them soon. Jo Anano will tell us why.
The Department of Transportation, or DOTR, today inaugurated the Land Transportation Office, or LTO's new plate-making facility in its central office in Quezon City. The LTO cooperated with Trojan Computer Forms Manufacturing Corporation and the J.H. Tonjes East GmbH joint venture to create the new plate-making machines. There are 7 new manual embossing machines in the facility which can make 22,000 vehicle plates in one day. With this new plate-making facility, the new vehicle plates will be manufactured in the country.
Ngayon po, bayan, ito na ho yung first step para tayo'y mag-produce ng sarili nating plaka.
New plates undergo 3 processes. From a blank plate made of aluminum, it will be put into the manual embossing machine. It will then undergo the hot foil process, after which it will undergo packing and quality assurance before being delivered to car dealers and LTO regional offices. The LTO says it takes only 5 minutes to make a vehicle plate using the new machines. Meanwhile, an automated embossing machine is expected to be delivered to the Philippines in July. This machine can make 12,000 plates in one day. The LTO, for its part, has begun processing the plates of those who bought vehicles since July 2016, despite the Supreme Court's withdrawal of a temporary restraining order on the release of backlog plates. The agency still awaits clearance from the Commission on Audit before the release of 700,000 plates. The LTO targets to distribute the said vehicle plates before the end of 2018. Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The National Youth Commission clarifies that there are no disallowances and unliquidated funds in the agency. Grace Casin will tell us why.
The National Youth Commission was disappointed on the news that surfaced today, saying some of their funds were questionably spent. NYC officer in charge chairperson Ronald Cardema admits that COA calls their attention over some unexplained spending of the agency. But they immediately submitted all documents that COA asked to prove that they did not pocket any of the funds.
Paninira, walang makita na kinurakot na pera dito sa ahensya, kaya ang tinira yung kinain namin. Tingin namin may naninira sa amin eh.
Based on 2017 COA report, COA asked NYC to explain their spending for meals and snacks amounted to almost 300,000 pesos in 124 meetings and activities they conducted in 2017. COA also questioned the 2 million peso budget for hiring consultants. However, based on January 2018 and April 2018 COA statement of audits, all funds are fully liquidated.
Ang mga meeting na to nangyari mismo dito sa opisina. No, karamihan doon ay nangyari dito mismo sa opisina. May mga napasa kaming reports ng mga meetings. Ibig sabihin, may legitimacy yung mga pag-meeting na ito. Yung sa consultant po, no, talagang dumami yung consulting fees natin kasi last year sabay-sabay yung mga proyekto na kailangan natin ng highly technical consultants.
According to NYC, they received several recognition from COA for properly spending their money. Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
For the news abroad, here is Eric Ferrer from South Korea. Good evening, Eric.
Good evening, Will. Here are the top stories from around the globe. Residents of Border Village hope for peace days before Korean summit. Days before the first summit in a decade between the leaders of the two Koreas, South Korean residents of a border village are wishing for a lasting peace in their region. Daesungdong is a symbolic village located just a few steps from North Korea and was set up under the armistice that ended the 1950s Korean War, along with North Korea's key Jongdong village on the other side of the demilitarized zone or the DMZ. Head of the South Korea's border village, Kim Dong-gu said the residents want to continue living harmoniously in the village amid the peaceful atmosphere that was created since the two Koreas agreed to hold the summit.
지금 평화 분위기가 조성되는 것 같으니까는 주민들도 계속 이 지역에서 안정적으로 좀 살기를 원하죠.
지금까지 여러 가지 남북 관계에서 어려움이 있었지만 학생들은 거기에 대해서 별로 무서움이라든지 두려움이 없이 잘 지내고 있습니다.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau condemns the incident in Toronto where a van flows into the crowd, calling it a tragic and senseless attack. Lerma Macaburas will tell us why.
10 people were killed and another 15 are injured after a 25-year-old man appeared to deliberately mow down pedestrians in North Toronto on Monday. The city's police chief Mark Saunders said the suspect, identified as Alec Minasian, was not known to police and his motives were still unknown. Minasian is now in police custody.
Well, based on witness accounts, we have a vehicle that started north on Yonge Street from Finch and drove southbound at some point in times on sidewalks, at some point in times driving southbound and northbound lanes. So it's very clear, just from a general perspective, to say that the actions definitely look deliberate.
Officials declined to answer questions about what motivated the driver to steer his white Ryder rental van towards people just before 1:30 p.m. in the northern section of Canada's biggest city.
The events that happened on the street behind us are horrendous, but they do not appear to be connected in any way to national security based on the information available at this time.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau condemned the brutal incident, calling it a tragic and senseless attack. It was considered as one of the most violent incidents in recent Canadian history. Lerma Macaburas, UNTV News and Rescue, Canada.
In line with that report, Local residents lit candles and left messages at a makeshift memorial for the victims of the van attacked on Monday evening. Some of the people who visited the memorial in the evening who witnessed the incident, others were still struggling to comprehend what had happened. A sense of unity and togetherness permeated the scene as local residents paid their respects at the makeshift memorial, attempting to come to terms with the tragedy. Bystander videos appear to show the driver pointing an object at police officers. The suspect was arrested without shots being fired. Former U.S. President George H.W. Bush is now recovering after being sent to the hospital. Marie Peñaranda tells us why.
Former U.S. President George H.W. Bush was rushed to a hospital in Texas one day after his wife, former First Lady Barbara Bush, was laid to rest. According to the Bush's spokesman, the 41st president suffered a blood infection but is recovering in the hospital after treatment. It will be remembered that the former First Lady died just last April 17 after she decided to stop seeking medical treatment due to her failing health. The elder Bush has a form of Parkinson's disease and sought treatment in the past years. George H.W. Bush became a two-term U.S. Vice President under then-President Ronald Reagan and became the 41st President from 1989 to 1993. Bush watched under his term the end of the Cold War between the U.S. and former Soviet Union and the swift invasion of Iraq together with the U.S. allies. George H.W. Bush is the father of the 43rd President George W. Bush and is considered the oldest living U.S. President at the age of 93. Marie Peñaranda, UNTV News and Rescue, Texas, USA.
G7 foreign ministers agreed to study Russian behavior. The group of 7 leading industrialized nations, or G7, condemned Russia for its behavior that they said undermined international laws. British Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson says foreign ministers from G7 agreed to create a working group to study what they call as Russia's malign behavior given concerns about Moscow's actions in Ukraine and Syria. Canadian Foreign Minister Chrystia Freeland, who hosted the event, said G7 ministers expressed deep concern about the despicable nerve agent attack in Britain and Russia's effort to destabilize democracies by meddling in elections. The remarks by foreign ministers on the margin of a 2-day meeting of G7 ministers underlined how tensions between Moscow and the West have increased steadily over recent years.
We all share deep concerns about what we agree is a wide pattern of unacceptable behavior. The countries of the G7 are united in our resolve to work together to respond to this continued flaunting of international norms and standards.
Those are the latest headlines from around the globe. Back to you, Will.
Thank you very much, Eric Ferrer, live from South Korea. The freshest DigiBible app developed by Filipinos will make our Bible reading experience more enjoyable. Leslie Longbowen tells us why.
The Bible is considered the best-selling and most read book worldwide, which proves that many people are interested in this holy book. But through technology, Bible reading is made easier and more convenient. A new app is developed by Filipinos that gives an easy access to the Holy Scriptures. Introducing Omega DigiBible app.
Napakaraming magagandang features itong Omega na wala sa ibang digital Bible, leading digital Bible. Pero ang pinaka magandang feature niya is yung interface. Because sa tingin namin, importante na maging user-friendly yung digital Bible para sa mga gumagamit.
Bible reading experience is made more enjoyable through its features. Its verse of the day will give you daily inspiration. You can also choose and download the Bible versions that you like. Parallel reading of 2 Bible translations is also possible. Moreover, verses will be easier to remember through Omega's options. You can bookmark, comment, highlight, and copy the verse among others. And if there are words or phrases you want to search in the Bible, Omega will make it easy for you. You can also take notes and set your own Bible reading plan. Among the app's one-of-a-kind features are the top-of-the-hour prayer and Bible-related blogs.
So we feel that it's a great feature for a digital Bible dahil the users can always talk or communicate to God in an hourly basis. At hindi naman matagal dahil 1 minute lang. Yung Preacher's Blog is a mini blog na ginawa ni Brother Eli Soriano. So we want the people to get to know the preachings of Brother Eli Soriano from the members of the Church of God International.
And what makes Omega more amazing is that one can enjoy all these useful features for free.
Kung gusto nyo mag-download ng iba-ibang versions ng Biblia, wala po kayong gagastusin kahit 5. Download nyo lang po lahat ng gusto nyong i-download na versions at magagamit nyo na po siya agad. Mapa-audio Bible or text Bible, wala po kayong babayaran.
Omega DigiBible is available on Google Play and App Store. The truth is just a click away. Leslie Lombowen, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Those are the reasons behind the news, April 24, 2018. I'm William Thio, and because we need to know, we will always ask why. Thank you for watching Y News.